Okay, sorry guys, the battery on my camera died. So I had to stop and switch that out. I was getting ready to show you how to make a casing for your elastic. On your full real life skirt, you're probably going to make it about 1.25 inches to, maybe an inch, depending on how big your elastic is. You don't want it a whole lot bigger than your elastic, or your elastic will shift. I usually go for about 1.25 inches because my elastic's usually 3/4 to an inch wide. Since this is a miniature, I'm probably just going to turn it. We'll go 1/2 inch or so. This is a seam gauge, very useful for turning hems and doing what I'm about to do, making like the casing. It can help you do it a lot more evenly. It is very tempting to eyeball steps like this, but you really want to be neat. And I've seen a big difference in, this is a little awkward with both the camera and doing this in such a small piece, but you just measure and you can adjust that little piece there to kind of be down. You would think that you could eyeball this so easy, but if you don't, it's going to come out very crooked when you sew, and you'd be surprised, how nasty that will look and how disappointed you'll be with your results. So I encourage you to measure it. Now this is where, if you would have pressed your seams open, it would look a little bit neater and lay neater, but since we didn't, we just push it off to the side and fold it over. We'll have to be careful when we feed our elastic through to feed through this way, or it'll be getting caught in that seam allowance. And again, measure that you're folding over your 1/2 inch. Make sure you put your pins in the way I am. That way, if you do forget and don't take them out, it won't hurt so much if you run over it. I encourage you not to run over your pins unless you absolutely are sewing something so tedious that you just can't take them out. It will dull your needle, and it may even mess up your machine depending on your machine. I try to never run over my pins. And see, it's right now really tempting to say, let's fold that over, it looks about right. Measure. I'm telling you, it makes a big, big difference. Okay. And that's how you basically turn your casing. Now, because this is small, I'm going to slide this extension cable off my machine, and that might help a little. I don't even know if I can still get around. No, that won't fit on it. Okay. This means this is going to be awkward. A real life skirt is going to be a little easier. You can start wherever you like. Nobody's really going to see this part. You're going to want to make sure that you go over from your edge and try to keep the same distance. When you're, say, doing your real skirt, you're probably going to use about 1.25 inches, but you want to sew about 1 inch away from the edge. And in the case of this, obviously I'm using different measurements, but see how that pin's under there? Now that I put my foot down, take it out. Don't take your next pin out until you're ready. And we'll go ahead and start. Go ahead and back stitch. And let's go ahead and sew this puppy down. Sometimes casings will want to shift a little, so you gotta kind of feed them. This one really does because of it being so small. And if you don't turn them, pull that out before it goes under the needle. If you don't turn them evenly and measure evenly, you'll find they bunch up. Okay, that pin actually is from the other side. Pull that one out. You want to make sure that bottom side doesn't tuck under there. Again, much harder with something small like this. People think doll clothes are easy or baby clothes. Not really. They're actually harder because they're so small and they're hard to work with. I'm going to come on around and keep going. Let's see, it's trying to shift on me, but we're managing. Again, trying to keep the same amount from your edge. Now notice there's my previous stitching. because this is an elastic casing, we need to leave a hole to go in. So I'm going to stop. Go ahead and backstitch. Okay, go ahead and pull out, trim it. And of course, you're going to want to trim closer. It's hard to me to do, and you do with holding this camera, so do the best I can here. It helps when you're at your machine if you have a small pair of snips instead of the big scissors that are used for cutting like I'm using right now. My snips just happen to be in the other room, but it's a handy thing to have. Okay, so now you have this, and that's going to be your elastic top. Now obviously the question is how do I get my elastic in there? One of the easiest and most common ways to go about that is with a safety pin. Let me see if I have one. Oh, I don't know if I have one here. I picked one up earlier and I'm guessing I didn't put it back. That's what happens when you don't keep good tabs on your supplies. Okay. Sorry guys. Let me see. A couple other options I'm pulling out here too, sewing tool wise. You'll find little things like these where you can thread your elastic in, or this. It kind of like a little pair of tweezers, and that slides up so it can lock. You can hook your elastic on that and then feed. And I think since I don't see my safety pin, that's what I'll do. Say, now with your elastic, you're going to want to cut it to fit your waist, obviously. But I just kind of did this at random. But we want to get our elastic here into that casing. And usually you just put a little safety pin on, hook on there, and then feed it through, and then you can fill the head of the safety pin. But since I don't see that, what I've done with mine, I'm going to go ahead and do using this bodkin. And we do want to try to feed this way because of the seam allowances and the way they got turned. You want to make sure that you don't feed, obviously, that end all the way through. And this is going to be hard to do. I don't know if I even, doing this in miniature and kind of random, I didn't really take into account the size, so hopefully this will fit through okay. This is easier on a life-size skirt. Okay, coming around. Sorry, whacking the camera too. Okay. So pull through, being careful not to yank that end of that elastic out there if you can.